You guys enjoying your prison? Are you guys enjoying the United States of America liberal New World Order prison colony? Where every time you broadcast or go live or do anything on the internet, the prison guards are watching you. It's amazing. I mean, it's a multi-tiered, multifaceted, modern technological prison. It's a technocratic prison. We're living in a technocratic prison. Like, I don't know where they modeled this prison society at first. I think it was China. I think that they modeled this prison society in China for like probably a decade or two before they brought it here. I mean, China is a prison state. It's a communist country. I mean, ipso facto, by default, communist countries are prisons. Yeah, communist countries are prisons. The thing that absolutely blows my mind is like, if you go and you read online, at least as far as like the internet that we have, which is like pretty much just controlled information, and you look up the title heading "Leave the United States," like a decade or two ago, this was a very, very popular topic. But I'd imagine most of the people who were able to leave the United States, like or in and around the Obama administration, were probably being encouraged because they did not want to be in the United States for what's happening now, which is like, the doors have shut on us. You know what I mean? Everybody's in their own little impoverished prison, and some can afford phones. Well, you'll be allotted a phone if you're poor, because like this is how you monitor the prisoners. I'd imagine that's what the banking elite thinks about the most. You know what I mean? Like if I was one of the richest people on planet Earth, I really had all the money and I had all the resources, I probably wouldn't want the rest of the world finding out, A, that I have all the money and resources, and B, that, it would be easy for them to pay attention to that and go after me with all my money and resources. So if I had all the money and resources on the planet, I probably would invest my wealth in making sure people could not go from where they're at to where I'm at to bother me with all the wealth and resources. So this technological prison makes a lot of sense to me. Hey, what's up, Richard? Hello, Isabella. God bless. Good morning. This morning, I'm carrying on about the liberal New World Order and how I believe I know it's a prison because I've read the history on it. But anyways, I love to bring this topic up because most people don't have these discussions. You know what I mean? That's the last thing anybody would ever want to talk about on the internet is the truth of the fact that the United States is a prison, especially with this tech. If I had to deliver the truth of this country being a prison to people, I could think of no better gift wrapping. I could think of no better box to put the truth in than the fact that everybody's under surveillance. You know what I mean? And you can get a phone virtually handed to you. I mean, you get a state government phone. I could give you 5 websites. I'll send you a phone right now. But, you want to fill your cupboards and fridge up, man, that's going to run you about as much as a small car. Yep. Well, see, that's the catch-22, man. I know how the intelligence communities work, and I know what's going on in the world right now. And there's a terrific irony to trying to get the truth out there when literally we have multinational corporate investment in making sure that every United States citizen is pretty much just a commodity. That's why we're all being mined for data. In fact, I'm pretty sure the model for the liberal New World Order going forward is to make sure every United States citizen and anybody else who's in this country doesn't know that they're just a ticking bank rotary. You know what I mean? There's like quarters, imagine quarters and dollars popping off the top of my head right now and disappearing. That's how the banking elite sees us. But the sadistic part is we don't get that money. That's not for us. that's kind of like the best example I could give you that we're in a prison, right? All of us are cranking out dollars for invisible, financiers, offshores that we don't see. And all this money it's incredible. There's a lot of wealth cranking off this tech, and we're never going to see it because the prisoners don't see the wealth. You know what I mean? They just exist for whatever the purpose of the prison is. Try and look around on the internet right now. The internet, it's not what it used to be. It's just all controlled information, especially Google and DARPA. But look around on the information for conversations about people leaving the United States. They're virtually non-existent. Like, besides talking about, I don't know, the fact that our money's on fire and that the whole country is basically collapsing economically, besides that little taboo being stripped from you, that's the one thing, if you talk about, the information will be taken away from you the fastest. The second thing that you'll talk about is trying to leave the country. Focus on economics outside of the country and what countries are doing that don't want this model, and then that information will be shut down too. So those are like pretty much the biggest taboo things you could be talking about right now. And of course, not focusing on politics, because politics is just a distraction. What's up, Jesse? I see you. Jesse Prout, please. I help homeless people. Okay. I'm not homeless. I'm not at liberty to divulge where I live, but I'm not homeless. I just look homeless. If I had, I don't know, $5 million in the bank account and 2 new cars, I wouldn't tell anybody. Not in this society. But I mean, I think it's amusing that people do think I'm homeless. I would rather people think that about me than anything else, because you really kind of get to see the meat and the potatoes of how people think when they think you're disparaged, right? The majority of the people that think I'm homeless seem to be kind of cruel and hateful to me, which, that's just business as usual in this country, right? But the Bible says that you can tell a lot about people by how they treat the disparaged, how they treat women, how they treat children, how they treat people that can't feed themselves, the disparaged. Not that women and elderly are disparaged, but women and children that are disparaged, people that, the Bible says that how a society treats those people says everything about who they are. I think a lot of people are very entitled. I think this technology puts thoughts in their head they probably wouldn't normally have. Actually, I know it does. It's psychological warfare. So most people are thinking in a direction they probably wouldn't ordinarily think. They're thinking in a way to benefit the wealthiest people, even though the wealthiest people want nothing to do with them. And so a lot of people have this not in my backyard mentality. Get rid of the homeless, get rid of the political opposition, get rid of the things that don't, on an anecdotal brief observation benefit me. That's normal. That's called class warfare. We've always had class warfare in this country. I've just never seen class warfare weaponized with a geospatial fifth gradation DARPA control grid before. It's fascinating. It's also horrifying. My most pervasive thought is to leave the country. Other countries during the pandemic, they were climbing the 5G towers and they were cutting them down. Right? And I was like, smart. Have you guys seen the wildlife and the birds respond to the 5G towers? Like, the birds are just like pecking at them and freaking out because it's like they're getting microwaved. Because those things put off a terrific amount of radiation. The birds don't like it, man. If you want to help me, I can put up my Cash App or my what else do I have? Oh, I think I have Zelle. I can put up my little QR code. I don't know. I'm skeptical, man. I'm worried that in the event I actually did have a little bit of money stashed, right? and that the internet knew about it, it would just vanish, because that's the kind of luck I've had for like 5 years, right? You know, we're all under surveillance. These phones listen to us with Bolshevik tech, right? A Bolshevik bug is something they had during the Cold War in Russia. It's basically just a little condenser mic, right? And then that information was relayed back to, like, you know, the Red Guard in Soviet Union, and they're basically just eavesdropping on all the citizens in real time. It's very, very effective for controlling a society. But these phones, good God, these phones are that on steroids. It's like, in continental Africa, they have something called the warlord model. What's up? Yeah, the satellites. Oh, we're not supposed to talk about the satellites. They don't exist. That's true. That's true. Geospatial intelligence. Look it up. DARPA doesn't bother to hide that. Like, you can actually get a good allegory for the geospatial grid on Google if you look up geospatial intelligence. Most people can't interpret it, though. It's a 5-tier, you know, space to Earth core relay system that uses advanced telemetry. Yeah. Dude, I used to want to try and fight this evil, but now I just want to leave. I know that seems selfish, but I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old, and people aren't very nice anymore. You know what I mean? And for everything that we try and do with this technology to help each other, there is droves and droves of hardened, real, no joke, communist socialists all over the world eavesdropping in what we're doing constantly, right? And no matter how good our intentions are, they call them behavioral psychologists. I call them prison guards, right? Because you could call a prison guard a behavioral psychologist all day long. You know, we're going to send Biff in there to smack the inmates up because they keep trying to get out. Man, he's like a psychologist. You know, our behavioral psychologists that monitor this tech are glorified prison guards, and none of them have a degree. Yeah, you guys should be in absolute horror, man. Absolute horror. I love my country. I love the United States of America. But I know we're experiencing something called the warlord model. The warlord model is the most pervasive economic model for a liberal society. Basically, you give the most hardened, no joke criminals, right, the ability to kind of to build a network to basically exploit everybody and take their wealth, right? That's what you would call a warlord, right? Conventionally in the United States, we've shunned this type of model from cropping up in our society because it's horrible when you look at it from across the ocean, or you look at the warlord model in any society like South America or continental Africa, even parts of Eurasia. It's horrifying to look at because you just have all this tribal warfare, right? And nobody can go set up shop and try and get resources from that area because it's too chaotic, right? And this is great for like an investment banker or somebody that wants to invest in the area and owns the warlords. But for anybody else that wants to try and get resources from that society, it's absolutely impossible. And that's what's happening in the United States right now. We have this warlord model. That's why you have all these guys on the tech wearing crowns and their face looks like somebody melted gold bricks on it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, man, it's the warlord model. That's what you're dealing with. You know, the left loves it because it's like it's easy to buy those people off. You know, you don't really have to offer a warlord much. Do whatever you want. Give me some crumbs, and when we come in, let us have that Tanzanite mine. You know, let us have that natural gas facility, and you can do whatever you want. I mean, it's effective, but I mean, it will take you from a first world nation to a developing world nation like that. And then the difference between a developing world nation and a first world nation, as far as the textbook definition, is clean drinking water and sewage, right? So what gives a country a first world nation classification is when they have water that you can drink that won't kill you, clean drinking water, and when the sewage is properly disposed of so everybody isn't suffering from dysentery. When there's massive investment from that angle to make sure the society's clean, you get the title first world nation. Ed Snowden's a shill, man. I believe Ed Snowden probably was real up to the point that, Soviets put shackles on him and probably started taking a car battery charger to his testicles. Up to that point, he was real. But after that, he's pretty much just a shill. He just does what he's told. Says what he's told to say. So, yeah. I wish everybody fortune for the better, for the best part. I hope people know that they're living in a prison. I hope people know that there's been a lot of investment and reorienting the liberal New World Order into a technocratic prison state, which is what it is right now. There's not much we can do about it except leave. So I hope to promote those type of conversations where people actually maybe start looking for other countries where there are Americans there who have left, and focus on what they're saying, and focusing on the fact that those conversations are probably one of the most blacklisted topics on this technocratic social media right now. So, that's the one thing I want to put out there, because those are my most pervasive thoughts. And then the most pervasive concept that keeps coming in my day-to-day life to reinforce that I'm on the right path is virtually everything I do is stymied through this tech monitoring me and basically knocking my finances around, and, and little wards of the state, little statists coming along and kind of echoing that they're enjoying seeing me in that situation. I used to get upset about it like a decade ago. Now I just want to leave. I just want to leave the prison. Like, this is a big, wonderful technocratic prison, and I hope the people who feel empowered by it enjoy it for as long as it works for them. I want to leave. Anyways, guys, I got to go back to work. Take it easy.